All right, so where you want to start, man?
I think we start at the top. We'll kind of go in order of what how you introduced it. Yep, that's not a word. I think we start with Petrino.
Introduced.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we can start with Petrino. This one's super interesting. So whenever the news broke that Jimbo Fisher hired Bobby Petrino, the mood around Texas A&M, it didn't feel like fans were necessarily happy with that hire. What are your thoughts?
If I'm a Texas A&M fan, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, that was one of the worst offensive performances I've ever seen, like offensive seasons I've ever seen from an SEC team, ever.
Yeah, it was a massive waste of talent.
Yeah. That's another thing, too, with one of the most talented teams I've seen in a while.
Yeah. Look, Bobby Petrino, you're talking about a guy that coached all of the quarterbacks out of Louisville, namely Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Now, granted, all of his seasons were, at best 3-loss regular seasons, mostly 4-loss seasons. So that is a little concerning. But you look at his only stint in the SEC, obviously that's where he's going. His only stint in the SEC was a 4-year stint at Arkansas. He took that team from a 5-8 team in year 1 to an 11-2 team in year 4 with their only losses. That was 2011. Their only losses to LSU and Alabama, who, mind you, played in the national championship and split games. They finished the season ranked 5th overall. I want to say they were 3rd in the last week of the regular season. So, look, I mean, given the talent that Bobby Petrino is going to have at Texas A&M, Connor Wegman specifically, I think that's a great hire. But most importantly, taking the offense out of Jimbo Fisher's hands is the biggest news for me.
No doubt. I think you could have hired anybody. You could have hired a high school, freshman coming into college or coming into high school. They're going to have a better offensive mind than Jimbo Fisher.
Now you're lying.
At least from last year.
That's a crazy take, bro.
No, I mean, obviously not. Yeah. It's a very fictitious take.
Yeah.
But talk to me about fictitious.
Not bad.
But, anybody almost in college football I would have been real happy with at OC.
Look, Jimbo was a good offensive mind. The game's just evolved, and he hasn't.
That's the problem.
Look, he coached Jameis Winston at Florida State, won the national championship there. Now, the question there, was that due to the talent of Jameis in that Florida State offense?
Right.
Or was it Jimbo Fisher? Look, there's no doubt he's a great recruiter. I mean, what he's done at Texas A&M has been insane as far as recruiting goes. Yeah. So that's fantastic. I think bringing Bobby Petrino in I think that's a massive hire.
I think so too. I don't know how they're upset about that.
The record under Bobby Petrino offenses. But like I said, going back to that stint at Arkansas. Now, granted, it was 2008 to 2011.
Yeah.
So the game has changed a lot since then. But we saw what he did with SEC talent. I'm interested to see how how that translates to now, 12 years later.
Yeah, Arkansas's never had the most talent in the SEC, and Louisville's never had the most talent in the ACC. So you're also talking about defenses that are not able to hold their own. So, I mean, those two offenses were very high-flying, especially with Lamar and that kind of, again, now you're talking about two coaches who have brought a Heisman quarterback to the table.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jameis, and then – or did Jameis win? Yeah, Jameis won.
Yeah, he did.
And then, obviously, Lamar.
Yeah.
So, I think they'll be just fine. They get the defense figured out a little bit, which I'm sure they will. It was a lot of players who had never played together. It was very fresh. You got a year under your belt after that crazy class. Some of them stayed. You got some of them staying back. So, I mean, I think they'll be fine.
That's the concern is they so far, and it's not done yet. Look, signing day is not till February, and that's in terms of recruiting coming out of high school. But to this point, Texas A&M's lost the most players to the portal.
Yeah.
That's a little bit concerning, especially after that massive class last year. But because they had that massive class last year, they'll retain the majority of those guys.
No doubt.
And like I said, namely Connor Wegman, being able to keep those guys and develop them through Petrino's offense, I think is going to be pivotal to that program.
Yeah, I can't believe there was no transfer talk for Wegman.
Yeah.
After how crazy he went last year as a freshman, I can't believe people weren't trying to pick him.
Yeah, well, to me, a freshman starting quarterback, I don't see them. A freshman starting quarterback in the SEC West, or the Power 5, let alone the SEC West, I feel like they're probably going to stay at their place.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too shocked about that.
I got you.
Yeah, I think overall this is a great hire.
Yeah. I'm A minus here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who would it have had to be to get it up to A or A plus?
I think this is perfect. I think we go right into Garrett Riley at Clemson.
You think?
I think that would have been. But the problem is you can't really pick and choose like that. Well, you literally can't. It's not how it works. But my point is, this next hire to me is an A plus hire.
Yeah.
You want to start, or you want to finish on the Petrino?
No, I'm with you. I think at a school like Texas A&M with all the resources, a school like Clemson, a school like Texas, which we didn't. Maybe we'll cover Texas next week. We'll get into a little bit of what Texas has going on next week. But I think you're talking about those kind of schools with all the resources to go out and get who they want. I get why they're a little confused as to why they get Bobby Petrino, who his last stint in the SEC was 2011.
Right.
Since then, he went back to Louisville and then did time at Missouri State, I believe.
Yeah.
This past season
As the head coach.
Yeah. So I get why they're a little concerned, but I think looking at the product that he's brought to the table, I think it's solid.
Yeah, he's got a nice track record. I mean,